Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial. And right now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of different modules that allow us to interact with different browsers, with HTTP protocol, and also we will take a look at a BeautifulSoup module that is going to allow us to parse HTML data more easily. Now, of course, we are going to continue right after it with the requests module, but right now let us take a little bit break from that and let us see some of the other available modules that are in Python 3. Okay, so first of all, we will take a look at the web browser module. Now, web browser module is not really something that you will use a lot. It can be useful for certain things, but most likely it is used just to open up your browser. Nothing more than that, and you will see just how that works. Basically, in this module we have a function called open, which can open a new web browser with the specified URL in brackets. So let us take a look at it. Simply to use it, let me just enlarge this. To use it, you simply just type import web browser, and it is an already pre-installed module in Python 3, therefore there is not really a need for us to install it, so we can import it right away. And let us see how it works once we call the open function. So in order to call it, you just type simply web browser.open, and in between the brackets, between the single quotes, you need to specify the desired URL. So let's say we want to, for example, visit the python.org or the official Python website, http or https, then two dots or colon / and specify just python.org. This is the full link. Make sure that you specify within the link also http or https depending on the website that you want to visit, and also make sure to specify afterwards the entire link. Press here enter. It will say true, and you will see right here that it opened my Internet Explorer and it also loaded the Python official website. As you can see, this is the link that we searched. So that is the actual function that we can use right here. Now let's, for example, try to create something useful with this function. So we will try to create a program that will open Google Maps when you specify the location that it should search. For example, you know that once you open Google Maps and you specify the location in a certain tab, you will see that it actually, let me just show you right here, if we go down here, Google Maps, open the Google Maps right here, this is the website that we're going to search, and let's say you search for California. You press here enter, and you will see that we get a different link every time you basically search for something. Now you will also notice that the link starts with /maps/place, and then afterwards you add the actual address. Now let me just click right here, and then once you add the actual address that you're searching for, it will lead you to a specific part of the continent or the city or whatever you actually search for, and it will show you that on the maps. So all we have to do is prompt the user for the location, which they will then specify, and afterwards we will simply just search this link and add the location that the user specified right after the /place. So right here, this is the location, and we will actually add that thing. So let us see how we can do that. Now first of all, let me restart this so we will have a clean program. Right here we are going to import two modules. One of them is the web browser module and the other one is the sys module. But before we do that, let us open a new file because this is a program that we're going to run. So import web browser and sys module. These are the two modules that we're going to need. And before we actually code anything, let us save this file. We can save it right now in the actual, let me just see right here. Yeah, we will save it in the Python module, in the Python directory, doesn't even matter. Web browser open.py. Press here enter, and you successfully saved your program. Now, this is a program that we will have to run through a command prompt because we imported the sys module, which we will use in order to specify the arguments, so we will need that one as well. And right here, let us go, for example, to specify something like this. So address will be equal to open and close single quotes, and then to that we will add the arguments that the user will specify in the command itself. So we learned this join command. We know that this will join whatever the string is to the empty string, which is our address current string, and we will add the sys arguments. And in order to specify that, we will call this sys function and we'll specify argv for the multiple arguments. Now also make sure that in between the square brackets in argv you specify 1 and then colon, because that will mean that it will skip the actual program name and it will not search the program name in the Google Maps. Because let's say we search something like this, or we run the program like this. So web browser open.py is the name of our program, and then we want to search for California 23 or something like that. Basically specify any address you want with as much detail as you want, and it will parse this to the link, and there it will find this in the actual Google Maps. But we specify from 1 and then till the end because it should skip this one and not parse it into the link. It should only parse the location. Okay, so let us delete this. And basically all we have to do is call the web browser function, web browser.open, and in between the brackets we need to specify the link that we saw, which is the Google Maps/map/place. So just specify https://www.google.com/maps and then /place, and then add another slash, and what we're going to do right here is we're going to concat the address that the user will specify, so the address, just like this. Save this program, open your command prompt, so cmd, just type in your search bar, navigate to the actual Python 3 program or wherever you actually saved it. In my case it is in the app data, local, then programs, then cd python 37, and if I just type dir right here, here is my web browser open, or pen in my case. I didn't specify O, doesn't even matter. We will just run it like this, and then we'll specify California. Press here enter, and you will see that it actually opens Google Maps and it opens the location California, as you can see right here. Now you can also try to specify a more detailed location if you want to. In my case I don't really need to. You can specify any other city or any other country you want to. So let's try web browser pen.py and let's try for Paris, for example. So we will specify Paris, and you will see right here we indeed get the actual map of Paris, which is in France. Okay, so that is a basic usage of this module. We saw a simple example of how we can use it, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at another library that we can use. Now that library, let me just close this, we don't really need it. We will just leave the idle open, and that library is actually called BeautifulSoup. Now it is a module that is used for extracting information out of the HTML page. Now the name of the module in Python is bs4, and that's the name that we are going to use to import it. But first we need to run the command pip install bs4 in order to install it, because it doesn't really come pre-installed in Python 3. Therefore we need to use our pip module, or pip script, or however you want to call it, in order to install the desired library. Now once again, if you didn't put your Python to the path, you need to navigate to the directory of your Python 3 and then run the actual pip command, and I will show you how you can do that. So once again, just open up your command prompt just by specifying cmd in the search bar, press here enter, and by default I believe it should lead you to the directory of your account right here. And once you're at the directory of your account, just type here cd app data, press here enter, then after it press cd local, press enter, press cd programs, press enter, and once you type dir in the cd programs, you should have a directory that is called Python. Navigate to that directory, so navigate to Python, press dir once again, you should have Python 37. If you have multiple things right here, doesn't even matter, just navigate to your Python directory, and there, one last directory we need to go to is the scripts directory, so change your directory to scripts, and you are good to go. All you need to do right now is install the desired library, and we do that by specifying pip and then install and then the name of the library that we want to install, so BS4 in our case. Press here enter, of course make sure that you are connected to the internet, and this will start the process of installation of this library. Now you can see right here it installs it correctly. As we can see right here, successfully installed BeautifulSoup, and it even says you are using pip version, however version this one is available. We can upgrade if we want to, but we don't really need to at the moment. We only wanted this library so we can import it in our Python 3. So click on the X right here, we don't really need command prompt anymore, and let us import the BS4 library. So we import it like this, import BS4, and we are also going to import another library that we're going to need, and that is already a familiar library to us, which is the requests library. So just type here import requests. So it took a few seconds to import, but doesn't even matter, we are ready to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to parse the HTML page using these two libraries. Now why we are doing that? Well, basically the BeautifulSoup has already pre-built functions that we can use in order to actually parse this HTML data way easier than we would have to do without it. So first of all, in order to parse the HTML data, let us think about what we need to do before that. We need to create a request to the page that we want to parse. So we already know from the previous videos how we can actually create requests. So let us just create a variable called result, and the result variable will store the actual get request to a certain page. So we will call the request library right here. So requests.get, and in between the brackets we need to specify a link. So we will specify a random link. I'll specify this one. Now you can specify any link you want and press here enter. This will perform the get request to the page. We can check for the actual status if there is any error, so we can do that by simply specifying result.raise_for_status. Yeah, there is nothing called status. We need to specify result.raise for status. Press here enter, no error, so everything went perfectly. And right now we're going to use the BeautifulSoup library to parse the data. So we will create an actual variable which is going to be called site_soup. Doesn't even matter, you can call it anything you want. It is going to be equal to BS4, and from the BS4 we're going to call the BeautifulSoup function. As we can see, by the default the idle prompts us with that function because it is one of the most used functions. And in between the brackets, what this actual BeautifulSoup function takes is it will take the HTML data, whether you actually load it from a file or whether you perform the get request like we did. And in order to actually parse the HTML data right here, we can simply just type result.text. Okay? So if you want to make sure, before we actually type this, you can simply type result.text, and you can see squeeze text 120 lines. We can actually run that right here for some reason. Okay, so here it is. This is the HTML data from that certain page. Let us just go all the way down. Yeah, I didn't think that the 128 lines will create us a problem, but for some reason it still is laggy. And now that you know that this indeed is HTML data, let us rewrite the line. So site_soup equals, or let me just restart this because you really can't see anything out of that HTML data. I shouldn't have actually printed it out. I will just type everything real fast. We import it to libraries, then we perform the get request, so result equals requests.get HTTP, and then specify the link. Oops, yeah, I need to restart it once again, sorry about that. For some reason I am making a lot of mistakes right now, but doesn't even matter. So BS4. Now let us make sure that we type this correctly, so result equals requests.get. Now also I'm wondering whether there is an actual clear command for this idle, not really sure. If any of you know that there is a clear command to clear the screen from the idle, please post in the questions below, so everyone should know that. And me as well, even though I will search it right after this video because it is necessary in case you actually make a mistake and a huge error pops up right here. It basically just looks ugly to look at, therefore it is always good to clear the screen. But let's get back to our program. Let's not stray away from this actual program. HTTP. Make sure to specify the correct link. Okay, so the result request is performed correctly. We can see that it finished everything. Just I made a typo right here, and we will continue with that word so we don't actually restart for the third time. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another variable site soup that we did before and call the bs4.beautifulSoup onto the actual result.text, which we now know is the actual HTML code of the page. So result, and right now I called it lst.text. I called it that by mistake, so don't really think that I called it because, and not because I wanted to call it like that. And press here enter, and what this function will return is a BeautifulSoup object. Also, one more thing is you should make sure to run this program while you're connected to the internet, because otherwise you will not be able to even perform this get request. Okay, so once we did this, in order to see that it will indeed return the BeautifulSoup object, you can simply just type the site soup and you will see that this belongs to the class bs4.beautifulSoup. So we use the library bs4 in order to perform this actual task. And right now, we're going to use a method from BeautifulSoup to find certain element. Now this was a simple program that we saw that we can actually see how we can create a BeautifulSoup object, and right now we will take a look at the function that can return elements of web page with BeautifulSoup object simply just by specifying the CSS selector for the element that we are looking for. Now the CSS selectors will specify the pattern that program will use to find different element in the HTML code. Now what I mean by that is something similar as in the regex library. We took a look at the regex library and we know that we need to specify the pattern that it should search for, and the regex actually has its own syntax. But right here we specify our own syntax just by specifying a certain element from the CSS. For example, those of you that know the CSS and HTML know that, for example, div element, input name, input type button, div span, and so on and so on. Well, basically those are the things that we're going to specify in the brackets for our Python program. Okay? But for those of you who don't know CSS, don't worry, it is rather simple, and basically all we are doing is specifying just different CSS elements in Python 3 code, so nothing really to worry about there. Now let's see how we can actually do that. So once again, make sure you import the BS4, and just to make sure I will restart this once again so we don't go on with the actual result specified incorrectly. Right now we only need, let me import this one first, so import requests and BS4, and right now result will be equal to requests.get. Now let's, for example, try to get twitter.com, but make sure that we specify HTTPS before that. Or let's simply just go with another smaller website, for example this one. it doesn't have .com. Now once again, you make sure that you specify any website you really like. It really doesn't matter which website you specify. Now I'm not really sure if this website is an actual HTTPS website. We're going to see in just a second if this works. Okay, so it is taking a few seconds to finish this, and basically, what is this? Yeah, it is because I actually specified the HTTPS and the website is an actual HTTP. So let us simply just continue with the website that we used previously, because then we know that we for sure won't get any error. Result will be equal to request.get, and we are simply just going to search for the previous website in our program, so this one. If you are running with a different website and it works, you make sure to continue with that one, it doesn't matter. We're going to create our site soup object as we did before, which is going to perform the BeautifulSoup function onto the result.text, which is our HTML code. So you can see this finishes relatively quick. And right now, let us take a look at different things we can do as we created this object. So first of all, as I said, we can select the elements by using the select function. So we can call or make a variable, which in our case will be a list. And we will call the site soup object, which is our BeautifulSoup object, and we will concat the select function to it. Now, if you remember what I said, this select function takes an input of the CSS element. So we will have to specify a CSS element right here. So let's make sure that we specify something that is usual, such as div. So this is something that any website must have. Now you can specify anything else if you want to, but for now, let us simply just specify div. Now we can check the length of the elements to see how much of the actual results it has retrieved. And we can see that it has retrieved 33 results. If you simply just type elements right here, you will see that it has too many lines to print because it is basically an HTML code. Now there are ways that we can actually parse these elements without printing all of these lines, and one of them is, for example, to print the actual stuff that's written on that website instead of the HTML code. And we can simply just do that by specifying, for example, let's specify the third element of this list, which is going to be the third div element in the HTML code. We specify it by specifying 3 in between the brackets. Or pardon me, once we specify the 3 in between the brackets, it is the fourth element, because we know that counting in Python starts from 0. So we're specifying the fourth element, and we're going to use the getText function on it. And you can see that this is the string that is written under that div element. Once you actually go to this website, so let us go there. Wait, I will search it right here. If we actually look for it, you might be actually able to find this. Let's see. Where is this? Now this is on my language, therefore most of you will not actually understand it. But let's just try to find this string. Now we can see this string right here is this one right here. Then this goes, here it's that. And then goes the actual menu, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, here, this is the next thing that we see. As we can see, these 4 words, here they are, I believe. Let me just double check everything. Yeah, here they are, these 4 words. And basically, that is what you do with the getText function. So simply you select the div element, which we can see right now that all of these actual elements belong to the same element. So all these selected, so this string right here, this string, these 4, and then this menu right here all belong to the 4th div element. If you, for example, try to print the 5th, which is selected by the number 4, you will see that we will get something else printed out. So basically we only get this first string right here, as we can see right here. Now if you simply try to print, let's say, 10th, we will see if we even get anything. Yeah, we don't get anything. Let's try with the 2nd. You can simply experiment with this and see what do you get. Now, for some reason, we actually get the entire div elements printed out right here, and you will see once we actually specify elements from 0, you will see that the same thing will actually get printed out, just with more strings attached to it. As we can see, we also have this inner string right here at the beginning, so all these other elements will also going to contain it, but also different things as well. So you will get, once you specify the actual 0th element, you should get specified the entire div elements and how it looks like on the website. Okay, now let's see another thing that we can do with this. We can simply just get the string of this, if you in case need it, doesn't even matter. You want to, for example, print it, and you want to print the 0 element, you can simply just print it like this. So elements, I'm missing an N. Okay, press here enter, and you will see squeeze text, 98 lines. Now we will not print it right now because it might actually slow down our program. But if we can print actually this element in text, so you can see how it looks like. Now this \n will no longer be \n, it will actually get printed out as a real text. So let me show you right here. String, third element, press here enter. Yeah, pardon me, it will not get printed out as an actual text. This string of the elements is, I actually mistaken these two functions. This one will actually print it as a text, and this one will actually print it as a code. As we can see right here, this div group right here, and we can see that it indeed is div group by seeing the open div tag and close div tag. We know that this group corresponds to this string right here. And if you actually try to search for it, you can see it right here, such as, for example, this word. Here is it in the actual code, and you can concat these two in order to see the similarities and differences. Basically, this is the code for this text, simple as that. Okay. Now, another thing that we're going to take a look at is the attributes method to these elements that we can use. So it will return the dictionary of attributes which then you can use as you like. So for example, elements, and we will use the same element, which is the third one or the fourth one in Python 3 programming, and use the .attrs, press here enter, and you will see that it is in the class pad group. Now you might be asking, what is this pad group? Well, if you take a look at more closely at the code, you will see that right here it starts with div class equals open and close double quotes, and in between pad group. Okay, if you simply just specify elements from the 0 and then you specify attributes, you will see this ID and then this DocuWiki site. Now we can't really print that out because, or let's actually try to print it out, maybe we can. Elements, we want to print the string from the element 0, which is going to actually give us everything. Yeah, it is 98 lines. It's best for us that we don't actually print it, otherwise our program will bug out. But you will be able to find this ID in the actual code once you print out the code. Okay? So basically, the attributes actually returns the dictionary of the different div class that you're using, in our case in the element 3. And in the element 0, it will return the ID. Okay? So basically, those of you that actually know web development basically understand this a whole lot better. All these CSS calls and this HTML code right here, this div tag, you shouldn't really have problem to understand this. Now, we will continue with this in the next lecture. For now, that should be about it. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!